bon? Oui. O sanje chodan soje chodan la chanchu pardo dane chapso che dage jinso jibe sonam che rola penje sanje roba sho sanje zoje chonam la chanchu pardo dane ge jinso jibe sanam che rola penche sanje roba sho sanje chodan soje chonam la chanchu pardo je dage jinso jibe sanam che rola penchra sanje roba sho sanje zoje chonam la chanchu pardo dane chamso che dage jibe sanam che rola roba sho sem che tam che jodan chawar churche dongar mebe dewa tamba tam drawar churche nyeren chadan ta charve bola nebar churche sem che tam che dewa tan deve jodan dembar churche dongar dan dongar che jodan chawar church dongar mebe dewa tamba tam mendrawar church nyeren chadan dan chave danyom chembola nebar church Chomden de jambe yang lai chan cai loi kange lo zhen zhen ye zhen zhen ye dra nam da ram sar ve chen ye tuen gun chi xian si chi ni che to kara le bam zhen kan da se be zhen ra ma ri mun tu ma dong ra che sir Rō tsō kyun la pu jie tar zē yan la chung ju yang den song zhū dar che zhō nyo mo nye long le jie jia zhō zhō zē chi. Ma ri mu sir dung ra nyu gu chi nye chun zē ra zhe nam de ne ta jien sa ju tar sun yun den lu tsō gyar zē tu yu gu. Chū rā chū tāng chū nī jian zhē dā lū mū sī rēng jiāng bē yāng lā dū tsē dēng chū jē jiāng rā mū sī rē jē dā lū dē mū mū bā rāb sā rā dēng chū shūng rū tō bā yī lō zhū bō bē nā wā tsā tō sō. Bon après-midi. Bien, nous reprenons le texte. Donc, avant de... Donc, ce texte est comporté de deux parties principales. Il comporte deux parties. La première partie, nous avons vu, comprend la pratique en 7 parties ou des 7 branches. Et la deuxième partie, la formulation des aspirations. Nous avions déjà parcouru les 7 parties, la pratique en 7 parties auparavant. Cependant, aujourd'hui, nous allons juste les regarder brièvement avant d'en venir aux secondes parties du texte. Donc, ce matin... nous avons vu donc la pratique de l'hommage à tous les Bouddhas des trois temps. Donc je vous lis le texte, hein. À tous les Bouddhas des trois temps, ces lions parmi les hommes qui trônent dans les mondes de tous les espaces, à tous sans exception. Je rends hommage avec un corps, une parole et un esprit sincère et pur. Merci. Mu par cette prière d'aspiration à la bonne conduite, ou à la conduite de Samantabhadra, je me prosterne devant tous les vainqueurs dont je pense qu'ils sont réellement présents dans autant de formes de moi-même qu'il y a d'atomes dans l'univers. Dans un simple atome, il y a autant de Bouddhas que d'atomes dans tous les univers, chacun entouré de bodhisattvas. J'imagine ainsi toutes les dimensions absolues sont comblées de vainqueurs. Je leur adresse des océans d'inépuisables éloges avec les mots sur des océans de mélodie. Je proclame les qualités de tous les ainsi venus et chante les louanges de tous les bien allés. Voilà, donc ça c'est la pratique parmi les 7 pratiques consécutives. La première qui consiste à exprimer un réel déférence à l'égard des trois joyaux et en particulier à l'égard de l'éveil. Donc la première ligne, la première stance, les 4 premières lignes, la première stance 1, c'est une présentation abrégée, puis les 3 stances qui vont suivre, c'est d'abord la déférence par le corps, par la prosternation, et ensuite par l'esprit, et enfin par la parole. Donc ici, je m'imagine démultiplier auprès de tous les Bouddhas et je salue donc avec déférence et respect tous les Bouddhas du passé, du présent, du futur et aussi tous les Bouddhas à présent à travers les 10 directions dans toutes les dimensions possibles. Donc nous avons vu ça ce matin et ensuite par l'esprit, donc évidemment ici en pensant aux qualités de l'éveil, c'est-à-dire aussi surtout ce qui est la qualité de l'éveil, c'est que l'éveillé est libre de toute confusion, de tout égarement, de toute illusion. Et donc ici aussi, je m'approche de cette qualité en contemplant par-delà, en essayant de contempler ou d'observer la réalité telle qu'elle est, au-delà de tout ajout ou soustraction à la réalité, au-delà de toute déformation de la réalité, et ce, en voyant que dans l'infiniment petit, l'infiniment grand peut être présent. Et ainsi, à l'égard des éveillés, évidemment, quelque part, nous pourrions dire que l'ultime est au-delà de tout mot, de toute conception, parce que, comme on a vu, les mots expriment généralement des concepts, et les concepts impliquent de réifier, donc sont toujours dans l'addition, la soustraction, la déformation de la réalité. Et donc, évidemment, les mots, les paroles, les concepts ne peuvent pas parfaitement décrire la réalité. Cependant, nous pouvons essayer de s'approcher par les mots, les concepts. Et ici, donc, je prends tous les mots, toutes les paroles, et pas simplement juste des mots, je les associe avec aussi ce qui m'inspire, ce qui est beau et inspirant pour les autres êtres sensibles. Donc par mélodie, je proclame ainsi les qualités de tous les ainsi venus. Je chante les louanges de tous les bien allés. Donc ces 2 termes-là, ainsi venus, bien allés, traduisent 2 épithètes distincts. utilisé pour désigner un Bouddha ou les Bouddhas. Ainsi venu, c'est Tathagata, Tejin Sherpa. Sherpa Gata veut dire celui qui est allé, c'est-à-dire celui qui est arrivé, parvenu à, venu, c'est en ce sens-là venu, et ainsi c'est l'incité, la réalité telle qu'elle est, c'est celui qui a accès aux dimensions ultimes, à l'observation directe de la réalité, au-delà de toute confusion, de tout égarement. Et bien aller, c'est Sugata, la traduction française, enfin une sorte de néologisme, Tejin Dorje Sherpa, c'est le terme en tibétain. Dewa, c'est la félicité, donc ici rendu par bien. Sherpa, celui qui est allé à ou qui est allé, ou qui est, en ce sens, il faut entendre, qui est arrivé à la félicité ultime, qui est la liberté, la félicité, qui est actualisée du fait d'être, d'avoir éliminé tout égarement, toute confusion. Voilà, donc cela conclut la première des 7 pratiques. Ensuite vient la deuxième pratique qui est la pratique de l'offrande.
Then comes the second practice, that of offering, sumptuous flowers, beautiful garlands, precious parasols, fine symbols and balms, radiant lamps, and the most fragrant incense. I offer them to you, O victorious ones. Oh, such wonderful arrays, all perfectly presented, exquisite apparel and sweet-smelling perfume, jars of scented powder, piled high like a mountain, I offered them to you, O victorious ones. These vast and superlative offerings express my confidence in all of the Buddhas. With the strength of conviction and excellent conduct, I bow and present them to the victorious ones. This is the second part, the second practice, the practice of offering. We saw that offering is a form of generosity. In other words, it is giving, the opposite of taking or appropriation for oneself, attachment, avarice, an attitude that is motivated by discrimination, that prefers self-cherishing, that inclines us toward appropriation, attachment. The conception of mine, given that there is me, then there is the conception of mine and attachment to me and a pursuit of appropriation, of wanting things for me. Ordinarily, as soon as we see something beautiful, we want it for ourselves. As soon as we see something that could be pleasant, we immediately want it for ourselves. We want to consume it, never be separated from it, make it our own. This is our ordinary habit, whereas giving is different. It's the opposite, we could say, in the sense that giving is what we see that is good, that is pleasant, that is beneficial. We don't want it for ourselves, we want it for others, to be able to bring benefit and well-being to others. This is the meaning of giving. Here, offering can be distinguished from the object of giving, the recipient, the one to whom we give. In this case, those who receive are the 3 jewels, enlightened beings. They were previously mentioned in the text. Enlightened beings who are found in innumerable numbers of the past, present, and future, who are found in numbers as vast as the numbers of atoms in the universe, on each atom of the universe, and we wish to make offerings to each of them. And offering is not as though we take one thing that we will then divide or lessen by giving it to an infinite number of Buddhas. Rather, we increase them, multiply them, so that the offering may be immense, vast, sublime, sumptuous, extraordinary, presented to each of these Buddhas in, we could say, infinite numbers. Here there are two forms of offerings: the surpassable offering and the insurpassable offering. The first form of offering, when we say offering, this concerns the object. Here we are not simply giving to a sentient being. In general, we can distinguish different types of recipients of giving. The object of our giving can be beings who are in difficulty, an object of misery, people who are poor, who are ill, who are destitute. And generally, when we talk about giving, we think about giving to these people, but we can also include not only those who lack, but also we may think of beings who have been benevolent towards us. Someone who can receive, who can be the object of our giving, can also be beings who have been of great support to us, our parents, our teachers, our friends, those who have helped us. These are also the objects of our giving. And we can also include among those who are the object of giving our enemies, those who have harmed us. For a bodhisattva, they may also be the object of giving, along with beings of quality, people that we admire, teachers, masters, and in particular here the three jewels, the Buddha. Here these are mentioned in particular. An offering or a gift, a true gift, must be motivated by here, let me try and clarify my thoughts a bit more here. According to what Buddhism teaches on this subject, the effect of giving depends on, we can distinguish types of giving that are imperfect, stained, and types of giving that are unstained, pure, authentic. So what are the criteria? How do we distinguish these? First, we distinguish motivation and the intention with which we give. The first type of motivation, which could sully our giving and lessen the beneficial result for ourselves and others, is negative motivation. Giving in a self-interested way in order to receive something in return. This is a negative form of giving. Also, giving based on inferior motivation, not to receive something or to lead another astray, to give out of kindness, but with the hope of receiving something positive for ourselves in the future, a positive karmic consequence, for example. This is not a negative motivation, but it is a lesser motivation. Here, what is necessary is higher motivation. We give with the goal of enlightenment, the enlightenment of all beings. Particularly, the offering is made with the purpose of bringing about altruistic wishes of bodhicitta that we express further on in the text. Also, I'll just share a few elements with you that may be helpful in general concerning the practice of generosity. Also, giving is stained by the way that we give. If we give with contempt, with anger, while mocking others. For example, sometimes people give to the poor, but with certain disdain or mockery of them. So this is not the right way to give, and this has no place in the practice of offering. Next, in relation to what is given, there are objects that are naturally harmful. Weapons, poison, chains, nets, cages. Inevitably, all of these things will, at some point or another, harm someone, and so these objects are not appropriate to be given. It's necessary to give objects that are beneficial, also in a beneficial way at the right time. Giving something to eat to someone who is already overweight, for example, could be even harmful. This is not an appropriate type of giving. Sometimes this is the excessive love of parents. Giving in an appropriate way at the right time what is suitable and what is within our power to give without attachment, without hope of something in return. We also spoke about people. There are inappropriate objects of giving in terms of the recipients, those who only want something to be able to harm us. There are precise instructions on this. This isn't directly the context of the text we're looking at. In this case, we are particularly giving to the most sublime object of giving, the Buddhas who are free from all afflictions. We make offerings to them and express the fact that we dedicate our whole person and all of our resources toward enlightenment so that we may actualize enlightenment. In short, here there are two forms of giving. First, giving gifts that could be called surpassable, everything ordinary and magnificent that can be found. We do not take all of these things for ourselves. Through giving, we can also surpass our attachment. Often people may think that if there are beautiful or magnificent things to be had, this incites desire and attachment, and so we should hide this, not see them. But in fact, through giving, there is no desire attachment. There's a certain number of objects that are described here. Flowers, garlands, music, perfume, lamps, incense. All of the things that we can sum up as being pleasant and attractive to the five senses. Everything that is beautiful to our sight, to our hearing, to our smell, taste, touch, everything that ordinarily attracts our covetousness. All of this here we offer. And by offering, we transcend, if you will, attachment to these things. So this is what we call offerings that can be surpassed, and then we come to unsurpassable offerings. These vast and superlative offerings express my confidence in all of the Buddhas. With the strength of conviction and excellent conduct, I bow and present them to the victorious ones. Here, unsurpassable offerings are those that truly rejoice enlightened beings. And this is, above all, our wisdom, our discernment, the fact that we discern reality, that we can observe reality as it is, that we understand the absence of existence of self, that we know emptiness, that we feel loving kindness toward all beings without exception, compassion. These are the true offerings, unsurpassable offerings. These are offerings that the great bodhisattvas carry out, the qualities and the attitudes that have been adopted by and actualized by great bodhisattvas. And even though I don't necessarily have the capacity today, I aspire to these qualities, and through my aspiration, I make this offering in the form of a prayer by aspiring to these qualities. So, to sum things up, I think I already explained this, so I won't go into more detail here. Then, after I confess one by one here, whatever misdeeds I may have committed through body and speech as well as through mind, all outcomes of passion, anger, and ignorance, I openly disclose each and every one. The 8th verse is the third practice revealing flaws or confession of harmful deeds. I openly disclose each and every one, meaning I don't omit any. The translations are always a bit complicated. Maybe I would have translated a bit differently, but in any case, I confess one by one all of the words that desire and ignorance have forced me to commit with my body and speech. I think, ills, whatever misdeeds. Probably based on the word dikpa. Maybe this is an equivalent to, in the Judeo-Christian world, we could connect this to the idea of sin, but we're talking about harmful actions. The conception is somewhat different. That misdeeds here is the translation of dikpa, all that is negative. It is the negative or harmful force within my being, my mind stream, that may lead me to the continuation of distraction, confusion, and also will lead me to experience suffering. Dikpa, this is what is referred to here. So maybe it's different than the notion of sin, but in terms of the usage, there are some similarities. It is what is seen as negative here, not because of the will of a higher being, but simply because it is behavior that naturally yields a negative consequence. And what is known as negative in Buddhism isn't negative by convention, not due to the mores and customs of a time or a place. It is what leads to the consequence of suffering. To illustrate this, when hatred arises within me, my mind is, on the one hand, in confusion. It is straying. This hatred relies on self-grasping, as we saw earlier, a cognitive bias that doesn't correspond to any reality, and hatred focuses on a biased vision of a situation. This is an expression of confusion, and on the other hand, due to this confusion, this state is troubled, is not serene, is not calm. And so, in this sense, it is klesha or nyungmompa, afflictive obscuration. Used to be translated by disturbing emotion, and there was a lot of focus on emotion, but the emotion isn't what's important. It's the confusion that is the source of suffering. And so this confusion is, in the experience, one of unhappiness, and each moment of consciousness is accompanied by feeling a sensation, one that is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and this is what leads to unpleasant sensation. When hatred is present, we experience unpleasant sensation, and when we maintain harmful actions, carry out harmful actions based on this hatred, these actions always lead to a painful sensation. This is why tikpa is qualified as being a misdeed or ill. All of these actions, willed acts, can be a mental act, a thought, an intention, but also a verbal or physical expression. with intention. So if through body and speech, as well as through mind, all outcomes of passion and anger and ignorance, out of hostility, if I have insulted people, if I have been contemptuous, if I have spoken ill of others, if I have lied about them, all of these actions, or through the body, if I have hit, killed, stolen from, etc., other people, all of these actions are included in misdeeds. All of these actions. From the depths of my heart, I regret them. I experience true remorse concerning them. This remorse must be like the remorse of one who realizes that they have taken poison without knowing it. Once we have consumed the poison, we are conscious of the consequences of poison, pain and death. And so, what will we do if we suddenly realize we have been bitten by a poisonous snake, for example? We will immediately seek the antidote, won't we? Our life is in peril. Our well-being is likewise in peril due to the presence of these misdeeds within our mind stream, due to these negative dispositions in our mind stream, due to our harmful past actions. The source of these misdeeds, the cause, is expressed here. That passion, anger, and ignorance, that they are outcomes of passion, anger, and ignorance, and I carried them out through body and speech, through mind. So whatever misdeeds I may have committed through body and speech as well as through mind, all outcomes of passion and anger and ignorance that are now present within my mind stream as negative karma, dikpa papamo, sin. We can use whichever words we want, but the disposition for suffering that is present within my being, all of this, from the depths of my heart, I experience remorse for it. Just as if I were becoming aware of poison in my body, I would experience remorse that it is present in my body and would wish for it not to be present, and will apply myself to taking the remedy through the 4 powers that we discussed this morning, through accomplishing this practice here. Of course, there are practices that are dedicated to, that are particularly concentrated on the purification of harmful actions. And in a very succinct way, in this 7-branch practice, express this. But there are also practices such as within the Shravakayana practices, lay or monastic practices, the confession of flaws, carrying out a certain conduct, observing certain conduct, and when we turn away from certain conduct, we recognize the flaws that we have committed, and we turn away from this conduct in order to restore our discipline. And this is also at work in terms of training in the path of the bodhisattva. It is important to ceaselessly keep in mind the conduct that it is necessary to follow, whether we are a beginner, if we have received the foundational ordination, that of refuge. It is important to keep the precepts of refuge in mind, to never stray from them. Additionally, if as a layperson we have taken on the pratimoksha disciplines of upasaka or upasika, the 5 precepts, to never stray from them, and to regularly accomplish the prosodha or sojong practice, where we renew our vows, our discipline, and we turn away from harmful conduct, and we no longer commit these flaws. And then there is what concerns more particularly those with monastic discipline, those with a novice or fully ordained discipline. It is very important to carry out these practices every 2 weeks. But also, as a practitioner of or aspirant to bodhisattva vows, it is important to every day carry out this practice, or, for example, looking at our conduct, seeing if we have followed the bodhisattva precepts or if we have strayed from them, to renew our bodhisattva vows and ensure that we no longer commit the flaws that we have committed in the past in the following days. And thus, progressively, we can improve our physical and verbal conduct, our mental conduct, and ensure that through bodhicitta we surpass this unfounded cherishing of oneself and develop cherishing of all sentient beings without distinction, without discrimination, which is, we could say, the objective of conventional or relative bodhicitta. And thus, progressively, etc. There are also practices according to the sutras, such as the practice of the 35 Buddhas, or also called the practice of the 3 sections, where we pay homage to 35 Buddhas whose vow and grace allows us to purify all negative dispositions from our being. It's a very powerful practice that is notably accomplished during retreats for 7 consecutive days and nights. Also, there are other practices in Vajrayana Buddhism that are inspired by the Tantras, such as in the preliminary practices, the practice of Vajrasattva. What these practices have in common is that we rely on the 4 powers that we discussed this morning: the force of remorse or regret, the force of commitment, the force of support, and the force of remedy. And then comes the following verse. I rejoice in each occurrence of merit produced by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of all 10 directions, by Pratyeka Buddhas, by those training on the path, by our hearts beyond training, and by every single being. Here, this is the practice of rejoicing. The Tibetan term is Jesu Yirongwa. Here, this is admiration. I admire and I appreciate. I feel no aggression in terms of sometimes when someone is doing better than I am, then I can feel somewhat aggravated by this in our ordinary thoughts. But instead of positioning ourselves in terms of a rivalry with other sentient beings, we position ourselves as admirers who appreciate, who rejoice from the depths of our hearts. This rejoicing, this celebration is not to be mistaken for some kind of excitement that we can experience during games, I don't know, like during a soccer game, or when we're celebrating someone's birthday or a victory for our side. And this is inner celebration that is expressed through serenity, calm, contentment, appreciation. Here, I rejoice in what? In merit. The term here is sunam, punya in Sanskrit. Sunam is an important term that we see again and again in Buddhist literature. It is often found in parallel with wisdom, but without necessarily making this distinction between merit and wisdom. It is, in short, all of the qualities that lead to discernment and wisdom, and in this sense, to enlightenment. When we distinguish between punya and prajna, sunam and sharab, merit and wisdom, merit is the method. We include generosity, ethical discipline. The first 5 paramitas, other than wisdom, are means, a source of accumulation of merit. Merit is not directly the cause of enlightenment, but indirectly. It is all of the means that allow us to develop wisdom and to perfect wisdom. Here, always within the bodhisattva's path and also other vehicles, we unify, we bring together means and wisdom. In the context of the Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha vehicles, the means are particularly that of renunciation combined with the discernment of non-self, which is an essential part of practice. And here, in the context of the Bodhisattva vehicle, the 6 paramitas are practiced together. So I rejoice in all of the merit, all of the forms of virtuous conduct, of understanding, of realization, of discernment, of wisdom acquired by the Buddhas. Buddhas designates beings who have perfectly and completely actualized merit and wisdom. Bodhisattvas are in the accomplishment of merit. They have not yet completely perfected, achieved wisdom, but they are on the way to doing so. The self-realized Buddhas, the Pratyeka Buddhas here, and the Shravaka designates practitioners of the 3 vehicles. According to the great vehicle, we can discern 3 vehicles: the listener vehicle, the common vehicle, the foundational vehicle of Buddhism, we could say. Listener here means those who listened to the Buddha's teachings and who shared it. This is the shared foundation of Buddhism that we find in the tradition of the Theravada as well as the Mahayana, and so forth. Notably, the teachings on the Four Truths of the Noble Ones, the understanding of the non-existence of self, renunciation of conditioned existence, samsara. These are the common points. And then, the vehicle of the Pratyeka Buddhas, this term, Pratyeka Buddha, solitary Buddhas or self-realized Buddhas, concerns individuals who attain realization of nirvana in a time and place where the historical Buddha and his teaching is no longer present. They are beings who are in a place and time where the historical Buddha's teaching is no longer present, but due to their understanding of the 12 links of conditioned arising, understand causality that leads to distraction, confusion, and suffering, and thus free themselves from distraction. So this concerns the teaching on non-self. They attain nirvana. Their observation and their conduct is somewhat more vast and profound than that of the listeners who rely entirely on the teachings of a Buddha. And then there is the bodhisattva vehicle. The bodhisattva's vehicle relies on generating bodhicitta and the intention of enlightenment that we presented in detail during our study of this text in the beginning of the summer. In any case, it relies particularly on this. The bodhisattva vehicle can also be classified into the Vidyadhara practitioners, those who rely on the Tantra texts, or the more common practice, which relies on the sutras of the Great Vehicle. And so I rejoice in all of the practices of all the practitioners of all of the vehicles, and also practitioners on the path, the paths of accumulation and path of junction, path of seeing, path of familiarization, and the path of no more learning and enlightenment, as well as ordinary beings, can be virtue accumulated by animals or confused beings. We can see everywhere that beings can sometimes accomplish actions free from self-interest, actions of kindness. And so I see all of the qualities and I rejoice from the depths of my heart. Concerning an anecdote in regards to the king Prasanajita, who received teachings from the Buddha in Shravasti. He made great offering to the Buddha and his disciples, and at the end of this offering, the Buddha was dedicating, and he asked the king if he should dedicate to the king who offered, or if he should do it toward another being who had accomplished greater merit than the king. And the king, very curious, asked if he could do so, dedicate the merit to another person who accomplished greater merit, and the Buddha thus dedicated the merit to a woman who lived at the foot of the palace gates. Because this person rejoiced greatly in the merit of the king making out the offering, and in this way accumulated even greater merit than the king himself in offering. So again, this goes to the power of rejoicing. This multiplication that we talked about earlier also applies here. On each atom there is a number of Buddhas, as vast a number as all of the atoms of the universe. And so here, in this case, we're talking about all of the Buddhas, bodhisattvas, pratyekya Buddhas, and Shravakas, and we're rejoicing in all of the merit that they have accumulated. So this is how we practice here, and it's notably through the power of aspiration here. And then the following verse focuses on requesting of the Buddhas to turn the wheel of the Dharma and not pass into parinirvana. O lanterns who illumine the worlds in all 10 directions, by way of the progressive stages of awakening, you have become Buddhas, free from attachment. Protectors, I entreat you all, turn the supreme wheel. Palms joined, I beseech those among you who mean to manifest the state beyond suffering, for as many eons as there are atoms in the universe, remain for the welfare and happiness of beings, of all beings. And so here, to sum things up simply, when we recite these stanzas, in the first verse notably, we address ourselves to the Buddhas. We address the Buddhas who are present. Going back to the prior image, as many atoms as there are in the universe, in an infinity of infinities. There is an infinity of Buddhas who have attained enlightenment and who have not yet decided to share the teachings. And so I turn towards them and I request that they teach the Dharma. And likewise, among all of these Buddhas that I envision, there are perhaps some who have not yet entered but are thinking about entering parinirvana, and I request of each of them that they remain in their respective domains so that they may continue to accomplish the benefit of beings, permit the benefit of beings. And the final practice here is dedicating merit. Whatever small merit has been garnered here through prostrating, offering, and disclosing, rejoicing, entreating, and beseeching, I dedicate it all for the sake of enlightenment. So this is the gift or dedication of merit. The merit of these 6 preceding practices, expressing reverence, giving offerings, confessing flaws, rejoicing in virtue, requesting the Buddhas to teach, and praying that they do not enter parinirvana. Whatever merit may have come from these practice, which are very vast merits, because as we saw, instead of a single prostration, it is an infinity of prostrations. Instead of a single offering, it is an infinity of offerings, both ordinary and supreme. Instead of confessing a single fault, we confess all faults or flaws of all beings. Rather than just celebrating a small virtue, we rejoice in the virtue of all Buddhas and all beings. And when we request the Buddhas to teach, we request an infinity of Buddhas to teach, and we request an infinity of Buddhas not to pass into parinirvana. And so this merit is as vast as it can be, depending on my capacity to go beyond my biased understanding. The more that I manage to go beyond my biased understanding, and the more that I can associate it with these practices, then the greater the merit is. And it is very important to not soil these practices with the idea of me, mine, appropriation, so that this practice can yield a favorable consequence. And what is the consequence that I wish for this merit? The enlightenment of all beings, not simply my enlightenment. I don't simply wish for distraction to leave my mind, but rather all the minds of all beings, that all beings may be free from ignorance and may be free from suffering. And then here come the wishes after this. So this first part, we purify our mind stream from all that hinders enlightenment, and we create the positive disposition toward enlightenment, and we dedicate all of the merit that is accumulated through sharing it, and then through expressing wishes in the second part of the text. What allows for the aspirations expressed in the second part of the text to come true is the fact that I have generated bodhicitta, that I have committed to the bodhisattva path, that I have accomplished merit, etc. And in particular, the fact that I have previously accomplished the practice in 7 branches. The 7-branch practice is not something that we do once, but something that we do again and again and again, multiple times. And each time we can better offer our aspirations. And so now we'll continue with the second part. In general, here we distinguish Munlam, aspirations, wishes, accomplished by a bodhisattva who is on the level of aspiration conduct. This is a beginner bodhisattva who's aspiring to the bodhisattva path, and then there are a series of wishes of bodhisattvas who have actualized wisdom, who have attained the first bodhisattva ground or bhumi. In the first part, there are 10 points. First, so here we cultivate the intention free from all stains, authentic and pure intention, which includes 3 aspirations. Which the first is aspiring to make offerings to the Buddhas, and aspiring to the fact that our intentions come to be. May the Buddhas of the past and those dwelling presently in the worlds of the 10 directions be honored by offerings. May those yet to come swiftly fulfill their aspiration and attain Buddhahood through the stages of awakening. What I wish here the aspirations are presented in a progressive order for it to be beneficial for a beginning practitioner, so that they may also progressively accomplish these aspirations. Previously, we carried out prostrations, etc. These consecutive practices of the 7 branches, these virtues, as well as all the virtues that I may have accomplished, as well as my person, my belongings, I merit not only that of the past and present, but also here the virtue that I will come to accomplish in the future. I offer them to the Buddhas. I offer them to the Buddhas who are already manifest, who have already attained enlightenment, but I also offer them to those who are on the verge of becoming Buddhas. Each time we need to take into account the breadth of what we saw before, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, in the infinity of worlds, in the infinite number of worlds, which are very numerous. Through the 10 directions, there are perhaps presently certain great bodhisattvas who are on the verge of becoming Buddhas, and I offer them I make offerings to them so that through this offering they may rapidly attain enlightenment. So to start, the offering is made to those who are already Buddhas throughout the 10 directions. In the manner of Samantabadhra, here we make an infinity of offerings so that the merit may be that of constant offering to the Buddhas. This is my wish. And those who are not yet Buddhas and who are on the verge of becoming Buddhas, and also all those who are on the verge of reaching realization, be they Shravakas, Pratyekya Buddhas, etc. I make offerings to them so that these offerings may become the circumstances and conditions necessary for them to attain their respective fruits and enlightenment. I constantly wish that my merit serves for this in this life and in all lives. All my present merit, all my future merit, may it honor the Buddhas and bring enlightenment. So that's the first aspiration. Then comes the second aspiration. We'll read the text. Wherever there are world systems in the 10 directions, may they, in their great number, become perfectly pure. May these universes abound in victorious ones who have come before the tree of enlightenment, accompanied by bodhisattvas, their spiritual heirs. Debatable whether that was in the French in this verse. We'll see. So this verse has the essential meaning. Okay, so the Tibetan term De Xing Yong Su Zhongwa a field or a stretch, an expanse of universes, then Chonghua, improvement. One meaning is that of purifying, removing imperfections, but also the complete power of all of the qualities. So maybe in common language we could talk about developing a region or developing a world. You know, we could say, oh, we need to develop the Périgord. What do we need to do? Certain areas are unlivable. We need to clean them. Certain places are lack roads. We need to create access, and then, you know, this way we can attract tourists or people who want to come live here. So these are ordinary concepts of development. But in this case, we are conceiving of the development not only of a region, but of all regions that we envisioned earlier. On each atom there are as many Buddhas, as many universes, and we want to develop them not in the worldly economic sense, but in the sense that all may be favorable in all of these regions, so that beings may easily attain enlightenment. Due to our merit, we want to strengthen the Buddha's activity, make it possible for other Buddhas to manifest, to make it possible for beings to have access. The accessibility of enlightenment is dependent on the presence of Buddhas, so that those who are present remain present, that those who are on the verge of becoming present come to be Buddhas. And so we can imagine maybe that, you know, if we want the region to improve, we could have a Buddha or 2 or 15, and also that all conditions necessary could come together so that people could always have time, could not fall ill, could easily understand, that the environmental and inner dispositions may be favorable for enlightenment. I understand it in this way, this stanza. Wherever there are world systems in the 10 directions, may they, in their great number, become perfectly pure. May these universes abound in victorious ones who have come before the tree of enlightenment, accompanied by bodhisattvas, their spiritual heirs. In Buddhist literature, there is a term referring to a receptacle, and sometimes the world is presented as a receptacle. The outer container, and the contents of this container is the beings who live within it. And so we wish that this context, this container, be favorable for enlightenment, that all of the imperfections of the world that would appear to beings, heat waves, extreme weather, natural disasters, the imperfections of the world, thorns, poison, cliffs, strong winds. We wish that all of these things may be corrected, that everything becomes gentle, positive, favorable. This is our wish for the development of the worlds and universes. For example, what we could wish for our planet, for France, for Europe, for developing countries, for oceans, for forests. We wish that everything may be favorable for all beings. We dedicate merit so that favorable conditions may manifest. And just a little story to go with this. It's not really an anecdote, but an aside. For example, if you read, and I invite you also to read, the Vimalakirti Nirdesha, the Sutra of Vimalakirti. It's a lovely text that has been translated. In the beginning of this text, there is a scene where the Buddha is sitting with his disciples. I think it's in Sravasti. A certain number of bodhisattvas come to the city to see the Buddha, to receive his teaching. And each of these bodhisattvas offers the Buddha an umbrella or a parasol, and due to the power of the Buddha, they all become one. In the audience, someone asks a question. I apologize, I don't remember who it is. What is the expanse of the Buddha's activity? And the Buddha raises the umbrella, and without the umbrella getting larger, without the universe, which is presented as a trichiliocosm here, gets any smaller, the entire universe is found beneath the umbrella. And the Buddha thus shows the expanse of his activity. When he is manifest here in this world as an enlightened being, he is also manifest in all of these different worlds and accomplishes the benefit of sentient beings. In part of the text, the Buddha also explains that, I can't remember if it's in relation to the question, but in any case, he explains that he developed all of these universes, that he made all of the conditions favorable so that beings could have access to enlightenment due to the force of his merit. And then someone in the audience asks, how can it be that if this world and this universe is manifest due to the Buddha's grace and wishes and the dedication of merit, how can there be so many imperfections? And if I recall correctly, the Buddha, with his foot, touches the ground, and I will show you how I wished it for you. And then suddenly, all of the audience sees an utterly perfect world, free of all flaws. And he says, this is how I wished it for you, but due to your own limits, you do not see it as I wished it for you. All of the imperfections that you see in the world are due to your own afflictive obscurations. And this is appropriate here in the context of the Buddha's wishes, the aspiration to develop an activity equal to that of a historical Buddha, to develop all of these worlds that are propice for enlightenment, due to the force of dedication and aspiration. Here, perhaps certain people who heard the previous description might think, this sounds like theism, the Buddha created the world. No, the Buddha didn't create the world to make a world manifest for beings or to create beings to people this world. No, this is not the meaning here. Rather, beings in their confusion perceive a self and an other, and due to their affliction, They are completely obscured by this affliction, and they never see a glimpse of what is beyond their confusion of duality. Additionally, their confusion torments them, completely afflicts them. They are utterly subject to it. And so the Buddha and the Bodhisattva, due to their merit, manages to create, in a certain sense, a crack in the perception of beings. Due to their own enlightenment, due to the fact that they are constantly giving their merit to other sentient beings, due to this giving, they have the ability to truly affect beings, to impact their perception. And this is how we had the fortune of meeting with the Dharma. Previously, the fact that a Buddha was previously manifest, that masters could continuously could have previously met with a being such as the Buddha. All of this is due to the power of the merit, dedication, and aspiration. So we should not take these aspirations lightly as a kind of wish. Oh, I'd really like that this or that happened. This aspiration is an action in the sense that it has efficiency. It has an effect. It works toward accomplishing enlightenment, toward accomplishing the benefit of beings. And this is what distinguishes Bodhisattva vehicle from the vehicle of the Pratyeka Buddhas and the Shravakas, this form of aspiration. If you have questions, I can leave a few minutes and then we'll conclude. Rinpoche, this morning you spoke about homage and prostrations. It seemed to me that when I did prostrations myself, I saw something that was related to working on myself. And in relation to what you say, in many teachings on the admiration and respect and gratitude we can develop towards the Dharma, in this homage, I saw another dimension that seemed to connect with devotion. I was wondering if that sounds correct to you. We could say it's two sides of the same coin here. When we talk about faith or devotion in Buddhism, it is firstly important not to confuse it with belief or submission. It's not the same thing. It's not like someone weak who is submitting to someone powerful out of fear or out of hope of receiving some kind of gratification. Here, what is at hand is a kind of glimpse of reality that the Buddha allows us to see, to discern. This glimpse comes from either knowledge, if we're very fortunate, through the Buddha himself and the extraordinary example of his person, or that of his accomplished disciples who, through their presence, manifest qualities, the qualities of wisdom, discernment, kindness that inspire us. And, if you will, the fact that hearing the Buddha's teaching and understanding and to see the relevance of his teaching, this teaching is seeing that this teaching is just, that it's true, and not just a fantasy that is proposed, but is really in relation with reality. And due to this, confidence, trust arises within us. We call this Shraddha Tepa. This trust or confidence incites reverence, kupa, respect, kupa. Also, devotion, mugu. It incites these qualities. And this is what is expressed when we prostrate. Prostrations aren't just a physical act, but above all, it is this admiration that comes from trust and confidence in this glimpse that arises within us. We have a glimpse of the relevance of the Buddha's teaching. And then sincere confidence arises, something that's not constructed or fictive, not because everybody else is bowing, etc., or for myself, doing it to be with my friends and family. No, it's not that. Or maybe because I don't have anything better to do. I do it because I truly, sincerely experience respect for this. The glimpse is, at last, I see how to bring meaning to my life. What is really worth pursuing? What do I need to do? What is truly beneficial for me? And in the same way, how to truly help others. This trust, confidence, tepa, involves understanding how self-grasping is a fiction, how we can be free from this fiction of self-grasping, and how, being free from this fiction, our mind can be free from all of the suffering and difficulty that comes from this mistaken self-grasping. And then, of course, who wouldn't want to prostrate? We don't prostrate because I'm equal, I'm above. I'm not going to prostrate to someone below, someone equal. People who are confused look at a statue of the Buddha and they think it's stone, it's bronze, it's not as good as I am, etc. May have this idea. Or even concerning what it represents, the Buddha. Buddha, it's almost like the sound of bubble. The word sounds silly to some people. When people talked to me, they would say, "Oh, Buddha, Baba." It was almost insulting. It was like a joke. It shows the level of our pride, of our arrogance. And if we look in this way, what are we expressing? What do we express? Our ignorance, our absence of knowledge of what are the extraordinary qualities of the three jewels. And we are also completely attached to me, I. If we understand the Buddha's teaching a little bit, our pride will diminish somewhat. we'll see what truly makes sense, our attachment will somewhat diminish, and we will naturally incline mentally, physically, verbally to what is free from confusion. And that is truly turning away from ego. There are people who, in the name of ego, express humility, but this is not truly turning away from the ego. Thank you. We'll take more time for questions tomorrow, if you have them. I wish you all a wonderful end of your day.
Bani Tone Niebe Ranam Pamche Ni Cheka Na Je Balab Rubai Sibe Solen Ro Andro